Right now, as you sit in your quiet room looking at the glowing screen in front of you, an invisible wave of superheated magnetic energy is rushing across the dark void of space at 6 million miles per hour. Space weather scientists, sitting in underground monitoring stations, are staring at digital countdown clocks with less than 16 hours remaining before impact. This massive wall of cosmic power is locked on a direct collision course with our planet, and there is no protective shield or emergency button that can stop it. In just a few short hours, that invisible magnetic wave could strike our atmosphere, and every screen, phone, and power grid across your city could go completely dark forever. If you love uncovering the most incredible and chilling true mysteries of our universe with real scientific facts, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button right now. By joining our growing community today, you will always be among the very first people to learn what is really happening out in the deep unknown. To understand why top space scientists are suddenly issuing urgent warnings to governments around the world today, we have to travel back in time to a quiet autumn morning in the year 1859. On September 1st of that year, a 32-year-old English astronomer named Richard Carrington walked into his private astronomical observatory, located in a peaceful countryside town south of London. He pointed his heavy brass telescope toward a smooth white projection card mounted on the wall, which was the safest method for astronomers to observe the sun without damaging their eyes. He was carefully drawing the dark spots moving across the solar surface, which scientists call sunspots, when something happened that no human being had ever witnessed in recorded history. Suddenly, right in the middle of the dark sunspot cluster he was sketching, two blinding patches of intense white light erupted on the surface of the sun. The bright white light was so powerful that it completely outshone the normal surface of the sun itself, glowing like twin brilliant white fires inside his darkened room. Carrington was so shocked by what he was seeing that he ran out of the observatory to find an independent witness to verify the incredible event. But by the time he returned, just 5 minutes later, the blinding white flash had completely vanished into thin air. He carefully noted every single detail in his leather notebook, wondering if he had just seen a meaningless brief glitch or something far more terrifying. He did not have to wait very long to get his answer, because less than 18 hours later, the entire planet felt the full force of that 5-minute solar flash. On the night of September 2nd, 1859, the night sky across the entire world exploded into a dazzling display of color that humans had never seen before. Deep crimson red, vibrant emerald green, and shimmering silver lights swept across the atmosphere, reaching all the way from the cold Arctic Circle down to tropical places like Cuba, Hawaii, Central America, and Santiago in Chile. In the high Rocky Mountains of western North America, the night sky was glowing so brightly that gold miners woke up inside their canvas tents, looked around at the illuminated mountains, and started cooking breakfast because they were convinced morning had arrived. In major cities across Europe and America, ordinary citizens walked out into the middle of the streets at 2 o'clock in the morning to read fine print in daily newspapers under the soft red light of the glowing sky without needing a single candle or oil lamp. People stood outside in complete awe, totally unaware that they were watching the most violent magnetic storm in recorded human history tearing through Earth's upper atmosphere. While millions of people stared up at the gorgeous night sky and wondered, the world's very first high-tech communication network was falling apart in absolute chaos. Back in 1859, the only major electrical technology that human beings had built was the telegraph system, which used thousands of miles of copper wire strung on wooden poles to send coded messages using electricity. Suddenly, those long copper wires began acting like giant gathering antennas, harvesting the powerful invisible magnetic energy streaming down from space and flooding telegraph lines with massive surges of unwanted electrical power. Telegraph offices from Boston to Paris started throwing bright blue electrical sparks from their heavy brass keys, giving telegraph operators painful electrical shocks and setting paper message rolls on fire. The electrical charge filling the air became so strong that telegraph operators in Massachusetts disconnected their heavy chemical batteries completely, only to discover that the telegraph machines kept sending messages on their own. The invisible power in the sky was flowing through the copper wires so steadily that operators were able to communicate across hundreds of miles using nothing but the raw electrical energy of the aurora overhead. Astronomers like Richard Carrington soon put the historical clues together and realized that the brief flash of light on the sun was directly connected to the night sky glowing and the telegraph lines catching fire. Scientists named this massive solar explosion the Carrington event, and for over a century, it sat in science textbooks as the absolute upper limit of what our star could throw at our planet. Everyone assumed that a storm like 1859 was a super rare cosmic disaster that represented the worst-case scenario for space weather on Earth. Did you know that telegraph operators back in 1859 were able to send messages across long distances using nothing but the electricity streaming down from the sky? If that historical detail blew your mind, hit the like button right down below and leave a comment telling me what you think would happen if all electric power vanished in your town tonight. For many decades, top space experts operated under a comfortable assumption that the Carrington event of 1859 was the most powerful storm our sun was capable of producing. They believed that while ordinary solar flares happened frequently, the sun simply did not possess the internal machinery needed to unleash anything significantly larger. But in the year 2012, a brilliant Japanese scientist named Fusa Miyake, working at Nagoya University in Japan, decided to search for answers in a completely unexpected place: the ancient growth rings of Japanese cedar trees. When trees grow each year, they form a thin new layer of wood underneath their bark, creating a living yearly diary of Earth's atmosphere for that exact moment in history. Fusa Miyake was carefully measuring the concentration of a rare radioactive form of carbon, called carbon-14, stored inside individual tree rings that grew more than 1,200 years ago. When high-energy cosmic radiation particles from space hit our planet's atmosphere, they trigger a nuclear reaction that produces carbon-14, which trees then absorb through their leaves and lock away forever inside their wooden rings. What Miyake discovered inside the tree ring for the year 774 AD shocked the global scientific community to its core. Instead of the tiny, gradual changes in radiocarbon that usually happen over centuries, the tree ring for 774 showed a giant, sharp spike in radioactive carbon that appeared almost overnight. The sheer amount of cosmic radiation that slammed into Earth during that single year was so huge that it could not be explained by any normal solar activity known to modern science. When scientists calculated how much cosmic radiation was required to create that giant spike in ancient wood, they realized the event in 774 AD was not just slightly bigger than the Carrington event. It was 10 to 20 times more powerful than the largest storm ever recorded in modern history. If the 1859 Carrington event was a terrifying ocean storm, the event in 774 AD was a planet-crushing mega-monsoon that completely rewrote what we know the sun can do. Here is the detail that makes this gap between scientific assumption and reality so important for all of us today. Back in 774 AD, human beings had no electrical grids, no computer microchips, no orbiting satellites, and no metal cables stretched across continents. People living at that time certainly saw breathtaking crimson auroras filling the night sky, but their daily lives continued without any interruption because they relied on horses, wood fires, and simple hand tools. Today, however, our entire global civilization relies on delicate electronic microchips and high-voltage power lines that are extremely sensitive to space radiation. Historical researchers digging through ancient medieval texts soon found surprising confirmations of the 774 event. In the famous Anglo-Saxon Chronicle written in England, chroniclers recorded that in the year 774, a strange red crucifix appeared in the sky after sunset, filling villagers with deep dread. Meanwhile, ancient records from the Tang dynasty in China described remarkable white vapors and luminous silk-like ribbons stretching across the night sky, penetrating major constellations. Ancient people saw these sights as mysterious omens from the gods, unaware that Earth had just taken a direct hit from a cosmic supereruption. As soon as Fusa Miyake published her historic findings, researchers all around the world began rushing to examine ancient trees, polar ice cores, and old wooden logs recovered from deep riverbeds. What they uncovered was deeply disturbing, because the superstorm of 774 AD was not an isolated freak accident. Scientists identified another massive radiocarbon spike in tree rings from the year 993 AD, and another giant event in 660 BC. In fact, an international research team analyzing ancient subfossil trees in the French Alps recently uncovered a monster Miyake event that occurred 14,300 years ago, which was nearly twice as large as the 774 storm. Instead of being impossible events that only happen once every million years, scientists now estimate that these superpowerful Miyake events strike Earth roughly once every 400 to 1,000 years. That means our sun regularly goes through violent cycles where it fires out superstorms that dwarf anything humans have ever experienced during the modern industrial era. And because the last major Miyake event happened over 1,000 years ago, space weather experts are quietly warning that our planet is standing right in the statistical crosshairs for the next big hit. Have you ever heard of tree rings revealing ancient superstorms from deep space before listening to this? Drop a quick comment below with your answer. And don't forget to hit that like button so more people can discover this fascinating real science story. To understand what even a small solar storm can do to our modern world, we do not need to guess or rely on sci-fi movies, because we have already seen a small preview in recent history. On March 13th, 1989, space weather satellites detected a solar storm that was far smaller than the Carrington event and completely tiny compared to an ancient Miyake event. Power grid engineers back then believed that modern electrical systems were well protected and built with enough automatic safety breakers to handle minor magnetic pushes from space without any serious trouble. That comfortable belief was completely destroyed in less than 90 seconds on a freezing cold Canadian night. When the magnetic wave from the sun collided with Earth's magnetic field, it generated powerful electrical currents underground that flowed straight up into the electric power grid of Quebec, Canada. Within 90 seconds, massive high-voltage transformers began overheating, safety switches tripped everywhere at once, and the entire provincial power grid suffered a total blackout, plunging 6 million people into pitch-black darkness for over 9 hours in sub-zero winter weather. School children were trapped inside dark classrooms. Underground subway trains came to a sudden halt inside pitch-black tunnels, and major airport runways went dark while planes were attempting to land. Automatic garage doors would not open. Heating systems stopped working in hundreds of thousands of homes, and communication networks froze up. That whole 9-hour nightmare was caused by a routine, medium-sized solar storm that scientists classify as a mild event on the space weather scale. It served as a loud warning bell, demonstrating just how vulnerable our modern power networks really are when the sun decides to act up. Now, if you think 9 hours in the dark sounds bad, consider what almost happened to our entire planet on July 23rd, 2012. On that day, the sun unleashed a massive solar storm that scientists later confirmed was every bit as powerful as the 1859 Carrington event. The superfast wave of gas and intense magnetic fields shot off the solar surface at over 5 million miles per hour, carrying enough raw magnetic energy to fry power systems across entire continents at once. The only reason you're sitting here today listening to this script instead of living in a world without technology is pure orbital luck. When that giant explosion occurred on July 23, 2012, the active region on the sun was pointing slightly away from Earth's position in space. The massive cloud of superheated plasma crossed Earth's orbital path, but it missed our planet by a narrow margin of just 9 days. If that exact same solar explosion had erupted just 9 days earlier, Earth would have taken a direct, full-force hit from a Carrington-level superstorm in the middle of our digital age. Senior space weather researchers at NASA analyzed data captured by satellite probes that were struck by the storm and publicly stated that if the blast had hit us, we would still be picking up the pieces today. Top space scientists noted that if the eruption had occurred just 1 week earlier, Earth would have been right in the target zone, causing global technological damage that could have taken decades and trillions of dollars to repair. How crazy is it to think that our entire modern digital way of life was spared by just 9 days back in 2012? If that mind-blowing fact gives you goosebumps, share your thoughts in the comment section right now and subscribe to keep learning incredible space truths every week. To truly understand why space scientists are so worried about these upcoming storms, we need to look at how these massive events actually form deep inside the sun. Our sun is not a solid burning rock, but a gigantic boiling ball of super hot electrified gas called plasma. Deep inside the solar interior, giant rivers of plasma flow and swirl around, generating immensely powerful magnetic field lines that twist, tangle, and stretch like thick rubber bands under extreme pressure. When those tangled magnetic field lines suddenly snap and reconnect near the surface of the sun, they release an unbelievable amount of stored magnetic energy in just a few seconds. This violent explosion creates a solar flare, which is an intense burst of bright light and radiation that travels across space at the speed of light, reaching Earth in just 8 minutes. But right behind the light flare comes something much bigger and far more dangerous, a coronal mass ejection, which scientists call a CME. A CME is a billion-ton cloud of magnetized solar particles launched into space like a giant cosmic cannonball. When a billion-ton cloud of magnetized plasma travels across 93 million miles of open space and slams into Earth's protective magnetic shield, called the magnetosphere, a massive invisible struggle takes place high above our heads. Earth's magnetic shield bends, stretches, and vibrates under the intense pressure like a giant rubber sheet being pulled violently. As our magnetic field shakes, it creates powerful direct electrical currents that travel down through the air and flow straight into the ground, searching for long metal structures to travel along. This brings us directly to the single weakest link in modern human civilization: high-voltage power transformers. These huge transformers are the critical muscle of our electric grids, stepping up electrical voltage so energy can travel over hundreds of miles to light up cities, factories, and homes. High-voltage transformers are specially built to handle alternating current electricity, but the currents pushed into the ground by a space storm are direct current electricity, which acts like a fast-acting poison to these massive machines. When solar currents flow into a high-voltage power transformer, they cause the heavy copper coils inside to overheat in a matter of seconds, melting the internal paper insulation and destroying the heavy steel core until the machine burns out from the inside. Here is the scary reality that keeps power grid engineers awake at night. These gigantic transformers weigh hundreds of tons, cost millions of dollars each, and cannot be bought at a local hardware store. They are custom built in specialized overseas factories, and ordering just one replacement transformer usually takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years from the day you place the order. If a Carrington-level storm or an ancient Miyake event hits Earth today, it would not just damage 1 or 2 transformers in a local neighborhood. It could burn out hundreds or even thousands of crucial transformers across entire continents at the exact same time. With thousands of irreplaceable transformers destroyed all at once, electrical grids across North America, Europe, and Asia would suffer total catastrophic collapse, leaving entire nations without electric power, not for a few days, but for months or even years. Can you imagine living in your current home for a whole year without any electricity, running tap water, or cell phone service? Take a quick second to leave a comment below telling me the first thing you would do to survive, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up. This brings us to what is happening right now, in this exact moment, as you listen to these words. We are currently living through the peak period of solar cycle 25, an 11-year cycle during which the sun's magnetic field becomes extraordinarily active, twisted, and full of violent sunspots. Space weather prediction centers at NOAA and NASA are monitoring massive groups of sunspots on a daily basis as they rotate across the face of the sun, pointing directly toward Earth as our planet moves through its orbit. At the same time, computer science experts at major universities have recently started raising the alarm about a hidden danger that most people never consider: our global internet network. Nearly all of the world's international internet data travels through thousands of miles of fiber optic cables laid deep on the ocean floor. While the glass fiber cables themselves do not carry electricity, they rely on electronic signal boosters, called repeaters, placed every 50 miles along the seafloor to keep internet signals strong across ocean distances. These undersea repeaters receive their electric power from long copper wires that run right alongside the fiber optic cables, making them extremely vulnerable to electrical surges caused by space storms. If a Carrington-class storm hits, those long underwater copper lines would experience massive power spikes, blowing out repeaters across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The result would be an immediate global internet blackout, disconnecting whole continents from one another, stopping bank transactions, freezing international shipping, and shutting down digital communications in an instant. Consider what happens when the power grid and the internet go dark simultaneously across major nations. Without electric power, city water pumps stop working within a few short hours, which means clean running water stops flowing from taps and toilets in homes, schools, and hospitals. Gas station pumps rely on electric motors, so fuel cannot be pumped into trucks, freezing the delivery of fresh food to grocery stores that usually only carry 3 days of food inventory on their shelves. Cell phone towers rely on small backup batteries that only last for 4 to 8 hours before going completely dead, cutting off emergency calls and news updates for the public. Hospital emergency generators run on diesel fuel, which cannot be refueled once local gas stations lose power or run dry. In our modern hyper-connected world, every single system that keeps human beings alive, from clean drinking water and food deliveries to medical care and home heating, depends entirely on a steady, uninterrupted flow of electricity. Top economic risk experts at Lloyd's of London and the United States National Academy of Sciences conducted detailed studies to estimate the financial cost of a Carrington-level storm striking Earth today. Their official reports concluded that the economic damage in the United States alone could exceed $2 trillion in the very first few weeks, with full recovery taking anywhere from 4 to 10 years. A Miyake-level superstorm would produce numbers so high that economists do not even have reliable mathematical models to calculate the total global loss. You might naturally wonder if governments and utility companies are taking active steps to protect us from this space weather threat. The real answer is a frustrating mix of slow progress and deeply concerning inaction. Engineers already know how to protect power grids. They can install special devices called neutral blocking capacitors that prevent solar currents from entering transformers, and they can build hardened backup transformers to store in safe locations. However, retrofitting every high-voltage transformer across national power grids costs billions of dollars, and because space storms seem like rare, invisible threats, power companies have been very slow to spend the required money. While a few countries like Sweden and parts of Canada have started adding protective gear to their grids, huge portions of the world's power infrastructure remain completely vulnerable to a surprise strike from space. Do you think governments should pass laws forcing power companies to protect the electric grid against solar storms right away? Comment your opinion down below, smash that like button if you agree, and subscribe so you never miss another deep scientific story. When we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, this cosmic mystery reveals something profound about human civilization in the 21st century. For thousands of years, our ancestors lived under the vast open sky, building civilizations using wood, stone, muscle, and fire, completely immune to the magnetic tantrums of our sun. The sun could unleash a monster Miyake event, And the only thing humans on Earth would notice was a spectacular aurora that painted the night sky in beautiful shades of crimson and green. In less than 200 years, we have built a modern world that is vastly more comfortable, connected, and powerful than anything our ancestors could have ever dreamed of. We created a global electronic nervous system made of copper wires, silicon microchips, and undersea fiber optics, placing every part of our survival in the hands of invisible electricity. But by doing so, we unknowingly tied our entire civilization's future to the magnetic mood swings of a star 93 million miles away. The urgent warnings issued by space scientists today are not meant to make us live in fear, but to give us the wisdom and motivation to prepare before it is too late. It is a powerful reminder from nature that no matter how advanced our technology becomes, we are still fragile travelers living on a rock drifting through an active solar system. The sun gives us light, warmth, and life every single day, but it also holds immense power that demands our constant respect and intelligent protection. As space weather forecasters continue watching active sunspots rotate across the solar surface on their monitors, one fact remains completely clear. The next major space storm is not a matter of if, but when. Whether it arrives tomorrow, next year, or decades from now, the choices we make today to strengthen our electric grids and protect our technology will decide whether humanity safely survives the next big hit or gets thrown back into the dark ages. If this deep dive into Earth's most dangerous space storm opened your eyes and gave you a brand new perspective on our planet, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on all notifications so you never miss a new story. Drop a comment below answering this specific question. If you received a 24-hour warning before a massive solar storm hit your area, what is the very first thing you would buy or prepare? Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend who loves space science and true universe mysteries. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time watching with us today. Stay safe out there, keep looking up at the night sky, and we will see you in the next video.